Dear Valentina Ivanovna, dear senators of the Russian Federation, colleagues, friends, first of all, I congratulate you on the upcoming New Year holidays. The Parliament of Russia, both of its chambers, are completing the autumn session with good results. There really was a lot of work. A whole series of important legislative decisions have been adopted in the interests of the country and our citizens, strengthening national security and developing the economy and social sphere. And for senators, the outgoing year 2025 was especially significant also because, as Valentina Ivanovna just mentioned, it marked 25 years since the first deep reform of the Federation Council, one of the largest in the sphere of state construction at the turn of the 20th and 21st centuries. Let me remind you what exactly that reform consisted of. The Constitution of 1993, of course you all know about this. Let's remind ourselves and the citizens. The 1993 Constitution prescribed the election of deputies of the Federation Council of the first convocation for a term of only 2 years. That was the transitional temporary order. Then members entered the Federation Council personally, by virtue of their position as heads of regions and legislative assemblies. And I want to note, they fulfilled their parliamentary duties with dignity, professionally and with involvement. Many did much for the country to preserve our state unity. During that difficult and, let's say frankly, transitional period in every sense of the word. However, the burden on them was considerable, not to mention that such so-called dual positions, both running a region and adopting federal laws, created a duality of status. Well, where is executive power and where is legislative power? These are different branches after all, and it blurred responsibility for implementing decisions. We understand, yes, when a person adopts laws and must implement them himself, there are certain problems here. But it seems to me that we coped with it, solved it, because we felt then that this still affected the entire system of power. Therefore, in 2000, I proposed to qualitatively change the procedure for forming the Federation Council so that each region would have 2 parliamentarians working in the upper chamber on a permanent professional basis, and they could concentrate specifically on lawmaking, on strengthening close ties and unified logic between federal and regional local development agendas so that, when making key national decisions, the position of subjects of the Russian Federation would sound convincingly and be taken into account. Then, a quarter century ago, the modern appearance of the Federation Council was essentially outlined. The schedule of its committees and commissions became more intensive. The amount of substantive work on draft laws increased. As a result, as I already said, all regions acquired greater influence at the federal level, at least on the legislative process, new opportunities for solving problems locally, for improving people's quality of life, and unlocking their economic potential and competitive advantages, from which the balanced, sustainable development of the entire country is composed. The mechanism for forming the Federation Council was refined and adjusted further. Thus, in 2012, elements of electability were introduced. Candidates for the post of governor had to publicly announce and present to people their trio of candidates for senatorial seats in advance, even at the stage of the election campaign. And from the Legislative Assembly, such a representative could only be an elected deputy of the regional parliament chosen through democratic procedures. Legitimacy thus, representativeness in the upper chamber, also increased. In addition, we established official requirements for members of the Federation Council, including the need for personal and direct connection with a specific region. Personnel requirements were updated and expanded after making substantive systemic amendments to the Constitution in 2020. The entire parliamentary corps took the most active part in their development. The term senator itself, previously unofficial, was enshrined in law precisely then. New powers appeared, both for your colleagues in the State Duma and for the Federation Council itself, in terms of parliamentary control, influence on personnel policy in the judicial system, in the prosecutor's office, conducting consultations when appointing government members in the areas of foreign policy, justice, and the security bloc. I know that the Federation Council approaches these issues professionally, thoroughly, and with the highest degree of responsibility. Admittedly, of course, no one expected anything different. I am confident in your professionalism and truly statesmanlike approach, and I count on continuing, as before, close joint work. I repeat, the job title, options for forming the Federation Council, have changed over the years, and more than once, as I just said, but its legal and political nature, purpose, one might say mission, is unchanged. This is, first of all, a key role in the legislative process, participation in making significant state decisions and strengthening the country's international positions through parliamentary diplomacy. And of course, the Federation Council actually ensures the interconnection between levels of unified public authority. This is extremely important for a federation uniting 89 regions. In their wide diversity, identity, and, I emphasize, cohesion, lies our wealth. Valentina Ivanovna also just mentioned this. The creative power of multinational Russia lies in this. Today, our strategic plans and development programs cover the entire country, from Kaliningrad to the Kuril Islands, from Arctic latitudes to Crimea, Donbass, and the Caucasus. Yes, we understand the success of such large-scale work directly depends on steps taken by federal executive and legislative authorities, but they are implemented and brought to life precisely locally, in specific regions, cities, and towns. I am addressing both you and the government now. We need to, more actively, as they say, more densely involve regions in developing new decisions of the national agenda. And control, of course, needs to be established over their implementation, just as representatives of public, non-commercial organizations, veterans and youth structures, business circles, and local expert platforms and citizens' associations. They should have more opportunities and functioning mechanisms to contribute to achieving national development goals. By expanding space for such initiative, we will strengthen the institutions of federalism. They are vitally important for the country's future. I know that days of Russia's regions are regularly held in the Federation Council and field events are practiced. I ask you to continue increasing regional involvement in this common joint work. All subjects of the Federation have their own growth points and strengths. And of course, we need to see and support them. And this is our sacred duty with you and yours, in this case. Each of you, senators of Russia, is a politician and legislator. But at the same time, you are all an integral part of the management teams of your regions, and must not only know thoroughly, but always defend their interests, requests, and mandates from people so that they never fall out of the country's general agenda and from the field of view of ministries and departments, executive authorities. After all, your authority and people's trust, a senator's knowledge of his region, this is a great honor and great responsibility. It must certainly be confirmed day in and day out, with every word, action, and real weighty results of service to the country and people. And in this regard, I especially note that today in your ranks, as was just mentioned, there are 9 heroes of Russia, participants in the special military operation, and the Federation Council itself has become a real personnel school. Your colleagues, having gone through it, were subsequently appointed to responsible posts in federal authorities, headed subjects of the Federation and legislative assemblies. I see people in this hall who were previously heads of regions and now work here.